Precept 9. Do not harbor resentment or complaint against yourself or others. The philosophy of self-responsibility and mental independence. Are you currently blaming your failures or misfortunes on others or your environment? It didn't work out because of my boss. It was a bad time. I have no luck. When faced with difficulties, we escape into shifting responsibility. That emotion steals the courage to make realistic solutions and take a step towards self-growth. This mind of resentment and complaint, in other words, the mindset of holding grudges, complaining, and shifting blame robs you of your spiritual independence. It clouds your vision to see the situation objectively, and ultimately, it will surely stop your growth. About 400 years ago, Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated swordsman, left a teaching to completely sever this mind of shifting responsibility. In 1645, while sick and just 1 week before his death, Musashi compiled his solitary life and philosophy into 21 concise precepts. This spiritual testament was entrusted to his most trusted disciple, Terao Magono-ho. The 9th precept is the key to solving this modern trap of shifting responsibility. Dokkodo Precept 9. Resentment and complaint are appropriate, neither for oneself nor others. Jeta tomo ni urami kakotsu kokoro nashi. This teaching does not mean suppress your emotions. Rather, it preaches a philosophy of ultimate self-responsibility and spiritual independence. Sever the emotional attachment of resentment and complaints, and concentrate that energy on objective analysis and your own way of strategy. Today, I will share everything about how this 9th precept resolves the worry of the loop of shifting responsibility, the background of Musashi's thought process, and practical work you can start today. 1. Logical analysis. Why? Resentment and shifting blame hinder strength. Why did Musashi judge so strictly that there should be no resentment or complaint against oneself or others? It is because the emotional attachment of complaints and shifting blame becomes the greatest obstacle to the pure objectivity and ultimate adaptability that a strategist aims for. The danger of resentment for a strategist. Musashi's strategy is a philosophy of ultimate survival, focused on the result of living to win. Achieving the way of strategy requires unwavering decision-making and extreme objectivity. Harboring resentment or dissatisfaction steals the concentration needed for current actions and hinders focus on your own purpose. Emotional shackles place a heavy load on the mind that blames others or the environment completely steals the opportunity to objectively analyze the causes of failure and learn from them. Musashi remained undefeated throughout his life because he always acknowledged the depth of his opponents and the world, never losing his attitude of learning with humility. Shifting responsibility is the same as declaring, "I have no problem." At that moment, you close off the possibility of growth yourself. This 9th precept is suggested to provide an answer, especially for those suffering from loneliness. A mind full of resentment and complaints cuts off relationships with others and pushes people away. By severing the mind that blames others, you can create the foundation for building objective human relationships for the first time. Precept 9 functions as a declaration of spiritual objectivity. It eliminates emotional biases like resentment, allowing the strategist to maintain the state of mushin, no mind, confront the current reality objectively, and maintain a state where they can improve the situation through their own responsibility. 3. Deep dive into Precept 9. The foundation of humility and independence. Precept 9. Do not harbor resentment or complaint is an ethical code essential for acquiring the unbiased, deep insight and spiritual independence required in the path of the strategist that Musashi pursued. Resentment and complaints often stem from arrogance, the excessive expectation that I should be treated better. Having the humble attitude of, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Precept 4 is the ultimate survival strategy to survive. In a constantly changing environment, Denying complaints leads to breaking down the wall of overconfidence. The core of Musashi's philosophy, the principle of self-responsibility, seen in Do Not Depend on the Gods or Buddha. Precept 19 is supported by the spirit of this 9th precept. By not blaming others or fate and completely taking responsibility for your own life, the solitary and tough spirit that Musashi sought is built. Many complaints are born from the emotion of dislike toward the current situation or others. Denying the emotions of likes and dislikes cuts off the source of complaints at the root. Musashi's strategy requires objective observation. By removing the filter of resentment and dissatisfaction, you will be able to see through the opponent's weaknesses and environmental changes with pure eyes on the battlefield of life. 4. Practical work. Energy conversion of resentment, learned from Dokkodo. Musashi's philosophy gives us the opportunity to convert emotional reactions like complaints and resentment into a spirit of pure inquiry and analytical power for self-growth. Here's a specific mental control workshop to practice the spirit of Precept 9 starting today. This work is a training to reevaluate situations you judged with complaints as objective tasks and convert that energy into future action. Work functional audit of complaints. This work has a similar structure to the strongest rival. Setting work in Precept 4, excluding emotions and extracting only functionality and learning points. 1. List targets of dissatisfaction. List 3 targets: work failures, relationship friction, social systems, etc., against which you recently voiced resentment or felt complaints toward others or the environment. 2. For each item, write down the following 2 points. External factors. Factors in this situation that you cannot change, even with effort: others, environment, etc. Internal factors. Your responsibility elements in this situation that you can change or should take responsibility for your actions, mindset, judgments. 3. Define strategic action. Define specific strategic actions to concentrate the emotional energy of resenting into improving the controllable elements. Example: if you have a complaint about a boss's instructions, use that dissatisfaction as energy to concentrate on collecting objective data for your own proposals and solutions. Through this training, the object of complaint is transformed from an emotional burden, disturbing your mind, into an objective task that aids your growth. 5b. Conclusion. Self-responsibility is the ultimate freedom. Miyamoto Musashi's Dokkodo Precept 9, do not harbor resentment or complaint against yourself or others, functions as a declaration of spiritual neutrality, to detach yourself from personal dissatisfaction and emotional shifting of responsibility. The mind of resentment is the greatest factor that steals your current concentration and dulls your future decisions. By accepting this teaching, you can establish your life's axis eternally within yourself, without being swept away by emotional filters